For nearly 2 weeks, investigators searched desperately for 11-year-old Gannon Stauch. Friends, family members, law enforcement officers, and volunteers hoped each new lead would bring them closer to finding him alive. But as investigators began examining surveillance footage, rental records, phone data, and financial transactions, they discovered a trail that stretched across thousands of miles in multiple states. Today, we're going to retrace that journey. Using the same route investigators reconstructed during their investigation, we'll follow the path prosecutors later presented in court, stopping at the hotels, highways, and locations that became key pieces of the timeline. This wasn't a simple family road trip. According to prosecutors, it was a carefully documented journey that investigators reconstructed almost mile by mile. Let's begin. Everything starts in Colorado Springs. Just days after Gannon disappeared, Letecia Stauch rented a budget cargo van. Investigators were later determined that this vehicle became central to reconstructing her movements across the days that followed. The prosecution's timeline identifies the rental, along with the vehicle information and related exhibits, as the beginning of this cross country journey. From there, investigators alleged that the trip headed south. As the miles accumulated, they weren't relying on a single piece of evidence to follow her route. Instead, they combined rental records, phone activity, hotel receipts, surveillance footage, GPS information, and FBI cast analysis to build a comprehensive timeline. That timeline linked locations across several states and became one of the prosecution's key visual exhibits at trial. As the drive continues, another event caught investigators' attention. Evidence presented at trial indicated that items were transferred from one rental van to another in a shared parking lot. According to the prosecution's timeline, witness Dakota Lowry described seeing contents moved between the vehicles, an event investigators incorporated into their reconstruction of the trip. At the time, someone watched from a distance might have thought nothing of it. People move belongings between vehicles all the time. But after Gannon's disappearance, investigators looked at ordinary events through a very different lens. Every receipt, every parking lot, every surveillance camera, every hotel, every stop became another opportunity to determine exactly where Letecia had been and when. As investigators followed the route into Texas, they documented overnight stays at Candlewood Suites in Amarillo and later Decatur. Hotel records, phone activity, and cast data helped establish the timing of these stops as the journey continued south. To most travelers, these hotels are simply places to rest before going back on the highway. To investigators, they became timestamps, fixed points in a timeline that allowed them to verify where the rental van had traveled and when. As the journey continued, the evidence trail followed. Fuel purchases, hotel receipts, phone records, electronic schedule alerts, each record standing alone might appear insignificant. But together, they created a remarkably detailed reconstruction of a trip spanning several states. Eventually, investigators tracked the route into the Florida Panhandle. Records placed Letecia in the Pensacola area, where the prosecution timeline includes locations such as the medical facility, a Comfort Inn, nearby businesses, and additional phone and cast data used to document her movements. The portion of the journey would later receive particular attention during the investigation. As investigators reviewed surveillance footage, phone records, and travel data, they focused on establishing not just where Letecia traveled, but how each stop fit into the broader timeline they were building. By this point, investigators had accumulated evidence from hundreds of miles of travel. The route had carried them from Colorado through Texas and now into Florida. But the journey wasn't over. According to prosecution's timeline, the next confirmed destination was Orlando. Records presented at trial include the Holiday Inn in Orlando, along with the additional phone activity and supporting evidence documenting that leg of the trip. At first glance, Orlando may seem like an unusual destination in this investigation. Nothing publicly alleged by prosecutors suggesting that Orlando itself was the scene of a crime. Instead, its significant lies in what is demonstrated. The trip continued. Investigators were able to follow the route beyond the Florida Panhandle using independent records that corroborated the travel timeline. Another hotel, another city, another verified stop. As investigators reconstructed the trip, the route eventually turned north towards South Carolina. There, according to the prosecution's timeline, the budget rental van was returned in Myrtle Beach, bringing the cross country journey to an end. The timeline also noted the Days Inn stop in Pooler, Georgia, as part of the return route. To anyone working behind the rental counter, it may have appeared to be an ordinary vehicle return, but investigators would later examine that rental closely, its mileage, the timeline of the trip, and the evidence connected to it as they continued building their case. The road trip was over, but the investigation was only beginning. In the next chapter of the story, the evidence gathered across multiple states would converge, and investigators would make the decision to arrest Letecia Stauch.
5 weeks now after Gannon Stauch vanished in Colorado Springs, and investigators say the 11-year-old is dead. Right now, Gannon's stepmother is in custody.
The arrest comes even though investigators do not know where Gannon's body is. Gannon's mom talked about the disturbing developments.
Really, I'm not in the correct mindset to be even standing up here, but if I had to say one thing, that when he said Gannon is no longer with us, I'd have to say Gannon is with us. After the stories of people from all over the world, he's not only my hero now, he's the world's hero. So I think the community, the positive support from a state that I've never visited other than 2 or 3 times, I'm astounded by the amount of love that's not come from me. It's came from my boy. And never thought I'd be standing here. It's a nightmare. I've had to put trust in the people I don't know. Today, I got the worst news and the best news. Obviously, we know what the worst news is, but the best news is that justice will be served. And I'll make sure that justice is served because my boy did not deserve any of this that has happened to him.
This morning, just after 8 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, Letecia Stauch was taken into custody in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina without incident by law enforcement officers from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the Denver and Columbia divisions of the FBI.
While we have not yet found Gannon, information has been developed that is helping us narrow our search. As you can see from the arrest, sadly, we do not believe Gannon is alive.
Although Letecia had been arrested, one critical question remained unanswered. Where was Gannon? To answer that question, the FBI assigned Special Agent Jonathan Grusing to interview Letecia while she remained in custody in South Carolina. Investigators hoped she would finally explain what happened.
Yeah, can you yeah.
I can. I don't have cars.
Just right here. If you can pull that chair back a little bit, there's not much room to do. We are going to record this. Just for your protection right now. If I can get this whole thing working. So Letecia and John Grusing with the FBI met you in the mall parking lot. Do you know why you're here? Did they inform you, the officers, of why you're under arrest?
I'm under arrest.
Yes.
For what?
For Gannon Stauch. A warrant was issued out of Colorado.
Okay, but no, someone could have just called me. We didn't have to have like a big scene. I would have called you or whoever.
Yeah, and apologize for that. Because of the nature of the warrant, it being a murder warrant, there's, and that's what I'd like to talk with you about today. That's why we're not having a cast of thousands here and whatever, is we would like to get to the bottom of what happened there. I know that a lot of things have gone on with your life, a little bit of how this turns out. Okay, but because you were arrested and you're not free to leave, I need you to sign an advice of rights before we can talk.
Well, I mean, so I'm getting charged with what now?
So you were charged in, the judge in Colorado Springs signed off. So the way this case worked was El Paso County got the original case. They didn't have enough manpower to work it.
Okay.
So they called the FBI. I'm part of for the FBI, an extension of the profiling unit, and I came in and assisted. And I've been helping for about the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
So our evidence response team, you've probably seen that on the news, has been doing some searches, et cetera. And then other FBI agents have been writing warrants.
Okay.
So a lot of warrants have been written. We've gone through the court. El Paso Sheriff's Office and FBI have worked together. And we found enough, you call it probable cause, for a warrant to be issued. So that's why you're here today.
Okay, warrant for what, though?
It was for the murder.
What murder?
Gannon Stauch.
So Gannon is murdered.
That's what the evidence shows.
Okay.
And I'm happy to share with you evidence, but we can't have a conversation unless you're advised of your rights.
Okay, what are my rights?
So this is an advice of rights form. I'll fill it out at the top. And you don't have to answer any question.
Oh, I am.
Okay, so I'm not going to force you to answer anything. If you want this interview to be done, it's done. So we're in South Carolina. What's today's date? Is it the 2nd? So I'd like you to initial these as we go through them. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can be used against you in court. You have the right to talk to a lawyer for advice before we ask you any questions. You have the right to have a lawyer with you during questioning. If you cannot afford a lawyer, one will be appointed for you before questioning if you wish. And if you decide to answer questions without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop answering at any time. I'm not going to force you to say anything.
Okay, so I had already had reached an attorney, but all the information is in my phone. So
so it's up to you. I'm not going to force you to say.
I mean,
if you don't,
I can talk to you, but I mean, see, the last time I asked for an attorney talking to them, I wasn't allowed that after I asked.
That's not how this is going to go. This would be a conversation.
You have more integrity being with the FBI that you would do that.
I've got a family to protect,
okay,
so I'm not going to violate any laws.
I don't mind doing that at all. But if at any point I would like to call my attorney if I felt like, is that okay?
That is okay.
Okay, so can I write that in somewhere, or?
Well, that's this one right here. If you decide to answer any questions without a lawyer present, you have the right to stop at any time. Okay. So, and if you need food, water, whatever else, this is not, we're not going to have people with guns standing outside trying to intimidate you. I want this to be your statements in our conversation. So I was thinking of a lot of things to say to you today because I've been helping, I've been involved. I've unfortunately worked a lot of missing kids cases. That's why they called me to do this.
Okay.
A lot of time with Mark, who was the dad. Dylan, who actually was in Colorado Springs with Mom, went to go see Dad. This was in November of 2012.
Right.
And then he disappeared. So it's a lot like what happened here. What I think happened with Mark is friends, and Mark wouldn't let him go.
Okay.
And I think Mark got upset. I think Dylan did some things that irritated Mark. I think there was just a punch in the face sort of thing.
Right.
And I think things went downhill from there.
Well,
and I'm not saying
I
that's
just
what
want to
happened
say
with
to you, I can help you because what you're charging me with is not, or whoever, is not the case.
Okay.
Gannon is alive, okay, and I can help you.
Okay, great.
But see, here's the problem. When I reached out to people about getting help, I said, hey, I need someone who's going to help me to help you guys. I couldn't get that from anyone at all.
We are happy to help you.
Okay, so I understand you might say you have, like, whatever evidence that you might say you have, but that's not a case. I did not hurt my child, okay? Need more assistance besides just FBI. You're probably going to need some DEA, probably need a lot of help.
Well, I'm happy to get whatever help.
Okay.
How do you know?
But I can't help you unless people are willing to help me, and I did offer every opportunity to sit down and talk with not only my husband, but with Landon to try to come up with the best plan to do it. I really did. And I've been begging every single day, please, please, please don't say this, okay? You, I know you're expert in your field, okay? I know you may say you have whatever evidence you have, but it's just not true, okay? It's not.
It's not true that Gannon's dead?
I'm not going to sit here and say 100%. I can tell you that there's really things that have occurred that I can help you guys with to know that. And it leads back to some things just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Okay, that's the truth.
Okay.
That is the very truth. And every day that went by, I had to do nothing but not only protect myself, but protect my family in this, protect other people in this, and that's just what it's been.
So I think our biggest problem is what happened at the house then.
At the house?
Yes.
Well, there's nothing that would have happened at the house that has anything to do with what I'm talking about at all. That has nothing to do with anything. Because you guys have, like, clearly put out this information about Gannon not coming home and then this and that and the other. And I get, like I said, you're experts. I get people with forensics are experts. I understand that. But it's just not the truth. It's just not the truth. And until I know that I got to get help from some people other than someone just having me in a room.
You got to get help to do what?
I got to get help to give everyone what they need because I'm going to need my mom protected. Okay, I'm going to need my brother and sister protected. And most importantly, I'm going to need Harley protected. And on that same note, I'm also going to need other people in Colorado protected. And see, people say FBI can offer that protection.
We can.
How?
If it involves if it involves finding an 11-year-old, then we can.
And it means that we can have new identities?
It does. Yeah. I've had to do that before. We call it an informant, but we can do it for the general public. Who else would you trust?
I don't know at this point, sir. I don't know. There's nothing that happened at any house. Nothing that happened at any house that would have hurt, harmed, murdered, done anything to anyone. Okay? Wrong place, wrong time.
You were in the wrong place, or Gannon was?
I was.
What about Gannon?
We all were in the wrong place. Even my family was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Even Lena, even Harley. Okay? It was all of us in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I swear to you on that.
So,
but I got to get
just like you have trust issues, let me tell you where I am.
Okay.
So I'm with the FBI, where when a child goes missing, if they're underage,
right,
then we can get involved, and it can be even a kidnapping. So if Gannon is moved from one point to another without his, will, then it's a child kidnapping.
Right.
And so that's what we're working this as. And with me as a federal employee, with me working a federal case, because right now it's filed with the district attorney,
right,
but the U.S. attorney could file it as well.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
The U.S. attorney is the federal prosecutors.
Gotcha.
Right now it's on the state. When you're talking to me, we are recording this for your integrity and mine.
Right.
But if you'd rather not say something, I mean, if I would rather you just say, I don't want to answer it, instead of telling me something that's not true.
Okay.
Because there's something called false statements, which is it's U.S. Code 1001, to where if you lie to us during an investigation, that can be a year prison time.
Right.
So that's why I said on this last one, if you want to not answer a question, I'm not going to push you.
Okay.
Okay. So with these people, taking Gannon or whatever else, if it's not true, just say I'd rather not answer that. Okay, because we're different than your local detectives and whatever else. It's not a felony to lie to them.
Okay.
Okay, so my goal, though, is to find Gannon.
Right.
And if you need protection, if there truly is someone out there, we can provide that.
That's not me.
Happen, though, I will need you to explain what happened from that night.
Which night?
The night that he disappeared. Because I've looked at all the news stories. We have been listening to your phone for the last month. That probably doesn't surprise you.
Okay.
We're listening to other people's phones as well, trying to find this kid.
Okay.
And we know from the internet and whatever else, there's a lot of stories out there. So if someone truly took Gannon, though, we need to know the real story, because you put out quite a few different stories.
I put out to who?
To you. Well, we heard a lot of the stories to Al.
To Albert?
Mm-hmm.
You mean like talking to him? Oh, okay. So let me just explain that to you, and you might think that's like super, like.
I'm not going to judge you here, Letecia.
Whatever. To him was the reason I already knew someone was listening to him, but because of him not ever like being like supportive, and I tried originally to talk to him when he first got there, that was the only reason I said those things to him, was just because I was out of anger and out of like hurt and not being able to have like support. It was nothing to do with like I'm sitting here going to tell you these stories. That was just anger, stupidity to him. And I already knew, like, if you heard it, you heard me say a lot of times, I know people are listening, because I know the same time that someone called, every time I could hear people.
Right.
I knew that. So me saying those things to him was just being what is the word you want to call it? Selfish or facetious or whatever you want to call it. Just because I was hurt by him not wanting to work together to figure this out, because I did have like originally initial different thoughts on certain things, and that was me trying to like basically read him and try to figure the situations out. So I understand that you may have heard those or whatever you may have heard, and that's okay, because that totally was not it. That was not me trying to be. That was just being stupid to him.
So I have a question for you in regards to that. Yeah. Were you of sound mind? I mean, did you have? Are you undergoing any treatment for anxiety or any depression or anything like that right now?
I mean, like, you mean, like, I've had anxiety since I was like 16, 17-ish maybe, but like, as far as like, undergoing like any kind of special treatment, or, like sometimes I might have to take like a little lorazepam or something like that.
Right.
But, I didn't see any like counselors or like anything for any kind of like depression and then plus two, like right now, well, I'm sure if you already got medical records, I'm 8 weeks pregnant, so I can't take any kind of like, I mean, I wish I could, because then it would help a lot with anxiety, but I can't. So.
Okay. So you were of sound mind when you were talking to Al. You were upset with him and upset with the situation of him not being by your side through this whole thing.
Right. But then at the same time, like, I have to sit back and think that, in a person's brain, you hear 100 different things. You do get discombobulated and just try to like do whatever. And I just wanted him to know, because he knows, like, I've been taking care of our kids like for so long while he was gone and their mom was gone, and I'm not here to bash either one of them. They had a lot of different separate situations going on that I've always taken care of the kids. And so there's been times I've protected them from so many people.
You basically had to raise them on your own because he was gone a lot.
Well, he was gone a lot, and Mom was doing whatever she was doing, So with that, like, I've had to step in and protect them a lot, so many times.
What kind of dad would you say Al was to Gannon or is to Gannon?
Oh, he's a good dad. Like, I mean, as far as like being like there for him, and like, you know, how can I say it, like if he says, hey, I want to go do something. Albert works a lot, so he's tired and his hours are like kind of, you know, up in the air here and there. But for the most part, he like is always trying to make sure he puts, you know, like the kids, military first, and always will be, and that's the mindset. And then
did you go into the marriage knowing that?
Kids.
That military was first?
Well, I grew up like knowing that my stepdad was here. Actually, that's why I was looking at that guy's name. But my stepdad was here growing up in the Air Force Base. So I lived on like a lot of Air Force bases and things like that. So like I maybe didn't understand it from parent perspective. I mean, I'm sorry, spouse perspective, like my mom's perspective. Right. But I did understand it from like a child perspective. But the thing about it was, is Albert didn't have to like go be deployed or anything like that. It was mostly like work through the night type thing. So it was like we were blessed in that way of not having to, you know, like have to see him go overseas or something like that.
Right.
That was a good part.
And you guys have been married 6 years, 5 years?
5 years.
5 years. And you came to the marriage with Harley.
Right.
Yeah. And then Elena's the youngest.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then we had like maybe I think 4 or 5 went to like kind of midterm miscarriages because we always tried to like have kids, and I don't know, like something must have happened like when I get to a certain point, so we would have had a lot more kids.
Right.
But yeah.
Do you think Al was faithful to you? Was he cheating on you?
I don't like. We never had like any conversations until like, of course, Mad like recently. But like prior to that, we never had like like buses, or it might be something like Albert's type of person. When he got off work, he just liked to come home. He wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go do this with people. He just wasn't that type of person, and that was a good part because he wasn't. You know, like, not saying you can't. Like, I know, sure, you might say if a football game's on, you might want to go and watch with your friends.
Right.
But usually, for the most part, we do it together or go over there and do something together. But it was never really like having our own people that we did things with unless it was kind of together. So we never like had issues of anything like that. Most of the time, the issues that we always had was I never wanted the kids to ever come back here. A lot of times during like their breaks, and we would get like, I don't want to say arguments about it, but he would always say, well, I have to, I'm obligated, to do these things.
So you don't think he was cheating on you prior to this whole thing going on with Gannon? Or did you suspect or no?
That Albert was cheating on me?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's been times in the past where I saw that he's talked to other women, like on messages and things like that. But then he's also, like, you guys have my phone in the past, you would have saw that he's always apologized for, like those things, like saying.
Were you guys considering divorce or no? You and Albert?
I didn't know anything about any kind of divorce. Like, I know, like, we've used the term loosely, because there was a lot of stress having to deal with, like, the situation with Landon. There was a lot of stress because, like, we fought so hard and so long to get kids to, like, a safe, situation. So it was very hard to, like, you've read someone and they're so emotionally, like, upset about the kids not being with us and we not being able to protect them that it was kind of hard. It took a lot, toll throughout that time frame of, like, Alaska. I'm sure you know about the time in Alaska and things like that. So during that time in Alaska and stuff like that, it was very hard to like have to see him be so upset from so many miles away. And, we get calls that kids didn't have a place to stay. We get calls that there was guns in the back of their car and people were being arrested. And so that took its toll in the terms of, like, figuring we should not have to, like, go through these things. But then once, like, we got to Colorado, we all could be in, like, one place. And then it was like first it was like kind of hard because you've been, like back and forth to Alaska for so long. Because, if you know the background, I had the kids here for their school year for Gannon and Lena. So it was Lena's, was the first grade year and Gannon's fourth grade year. Yeah. So they would have went to school here in Myrtle Beach. So I had them here with us then. And so still with that, it was us like being apart, going back and forth, traveling on holidays, and things like that. So that would have been the most difficult time. Like I said, when we got to Colorado, it was just like, okay, we're here. We are doing things together, and we said stupid things to each other. Like, I don't even want to say on camera, but like the things that we could do to be like, okay, we'll forget all this, or if you do this, we'll forget all this.
Right.
But it's stupid, silly stuff, nothing that we would have been.
So it seems like you guys had a pretty solid marriage then.
I mean,
besides him being gone a bunch.
Which is why I was so upset about not being like supportive, because I know that, like, when I told you we went like debt money, spending things to have attorney fees for like the custody, Garno Lightum or Ovlightum, whatever it is, the gal. Like, we spent so much money and doing all those things and like working together to do all that, and it was so, I guess, like, upsetting that he wasn't. So I did, out of anger, fire out stupid stuff because I was so pissed and like really wanting to like talk with him or Landon like together so I could like just explain like, hey, this is what I think we can do in this situation. So it was just me trying to get him to talk to me like privately. Because I already knew you guys were, listening or whatever. Right. I already knew that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Al was just singularly focused on what happened again.
Right.
And besides this situation, have you ever been around a parent who a child goes missing before and not returned home?
No.
Because I've worked with a family. It was a serial killer case I had in 2006, and the guy was picking off daughters.
Picking them off?
Yes, in Denver. He was actually an informant of ours, which was not our best day.
Okay.
But he was going around killing these girls, and then they were high risk girls, so they were working, on the streets some or using drugs or whatever. But some of these girls, we haven't returned them home.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a parent of a missing kid versus even a deceased kid, it's a lot different, because you're looking at every corner. You're looking to say, is that my daughter or my son? Even if you think they're dead,
right.
And your mind goes to the worst, but you, even though we've convicted this killer for killing these girls, because he confessed to them and whatever else, we still have the girls to bring home.
Right.
And so there's no closure. And I'm seeing Al from a distance going through that, because I still deal with dads 14 years later who are looking for their daughters at bus stops and malls and whatever. So,
and see, that's the hard part, is like, people are like, being upset, and I'm like, I haven't had the opportunity to like even just sit down and be like, okay, look, I've given my life to take care of these children. I have. They should not be, and that I've done that. And it's so hard, because inside that, I don't get to express that emotion to have that, to say to anyone, or anything like that. And that's the most difficult part, because I've had to just be like, how can I make the situation back, come on, sir, let's be honest.
I'm John.
John.
Yeah.
I mean, like Albert was talking about, and again, whether you make them say this or not, I mean, literally, woke up on Christmas, I always make it about the kids on Christmas, because they don't get to spend Christmas with us. So, like, if they went home for the holidays, they might leave, when school gets out. We might not see them until, January. So, I always spent my time trying to make sure every time, I didn't believe in certain holidays, I didn't believe in Halloween, but to make sure every holiday was, like, revolved around the situation. So, if you look at the situation, I went, we have every house, and we have cars, and we have whatever. So I worked my entire life in education, and got a doctorate degree in education. So to me, it's like everything I worked so hard for, everything Albert, 16 years in the military, or, service and things like that, no matter how much we had did on that, it took us everything to get the kids. Right. And that was where we were at in our safe spot. So for a person who can, take care of everyone and do everything for everyone, and then just cannot do it for a split second, that's the hardest part. And knowing that this is an image getting set on me, all these horrible things, all these things that are just not true.
Well, that's what we'd like to get to today.
And that's,
Yeah. So I'd like to talk about the split second, but first let's go to Gannon, because what we do is called victimology. Have you heard of that before?
Sure.
So victimology is we find out as much as we can about Gannon, the victim, and even if he's safe somewhere, even if he's not, knowing more about him, especially since you were the last person with him, helps us to try to figure out, like, say we don't have a suspect, somebody's killed, but we have nothing.
Okay.
Then we will look at that person to see what drew that homicide there. Why did those two people interact at that time?
Okay.
And then we'll also do things like it's the subject, the situation, and the location. So something happened. Gannon's here. You have someone or something that did him harm, and then you have why the location.
Okay.
So we have those three things. And, we've looked through your house and, done the CSI stuff and looked at all the, body fluids all over the house and garage and whatever else. So that's all been done. I'm curious to see your challenges of Gannon here when you had to be a parent, and then there. Challenges, successes, whatever else. What special attention did he need? What can you tell me about him?
Well, here he was younger, fourth grade. He started to mature a little bit, hitting towards, like sixth grade.
Uh-huh.
So, like, here he was more so of, like, let's see, at that time and situation here, okay, so prior to that, we never got to see him at some, like, every other weekend for the longest time.
Okay.
Right? All right, so then when Albert, we finally paid all the money, the attorney, whatever, Albert had to choose between getting out of the military or the kids, in a way, kind of, because mom wasn't given any or whatever. So then that's when we step in and say, we're going to keep them here in our home here, and I'll stay here with them, and then, we'll go from there.
Right.
So during that time, he also didn't get to see his mom. A, she didn't have a place to live. B, she was also, she had a baby, but then mainly to her, I'm not going to trash her. I'm going to say she was married to someone who didn't take care of it, who wouldn't take care of them like they should, with her being pregnant in that situation. So with mom not having that foundation support, she wasn't able to come to the house a lot. And when she did come to the house, there's times she came that she was like, she just wasn't in a good place. So I let her stay at her home. And Gannon had a tough time every time because in his mind, he just wanted to be like his stepsister. Do you know stepsister?
Mm-hmm. What? His stepsister?
Yeah.
You mean Harley?
No.
Oh, Landon's?
Yeah. No.
I don't.
Mia. Mike's daughter.
Got it.
Mike, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So he wanted it to be like Mike's daughter, which was they go to mom and dad's house for a week and go to mom and dad's house.
Right.
So
got it.
That was Gannon's mindset when he was here. Grandparents, amazing people, which is Landon's family. Amazing people, Grandma, I think Grandma calls her Nana and Poppy. Great people. They would always come get them on weekends and things like that, so that I'd have time to do whatever I needed to do, or if I wanted to go shopping or go hang out with people, whatever. So we had all that, going on here. The missing piece was, Albert had to, serve our country.
Yep.
Gannon would do his schoolwork, very smart. I think he made all A's here in fourth grade. I'm pretty sure he made all A's here in fourth grade. So made all A's here. Didn't have an issue at all.
Well, what was he like when he got home from school? Because Albert's out, you're having to take care of him.
Well, to be honest with you, I got him from after school, which was about 5:30ish. So by the time we did homework, and all those things, it was almost time to get ready for bed.
Are you doing his homework with him? Is he doing it on his own? What?
See, the difference between schools, and I'm not trying to talk about Colorado if you're from Colorado. The difference between Colorado and South Carolina schools was South Carolina did a lot more history and those type of things, where Colorado probably thought it really wasn't relevant. We wanted to focus on reading and math and things like that. So he did struggle with history, so we had to sit at the table a lot of times and really work on he was a mathematical. He's so like his dad. Gannon is just like his dad. He is so mathematically inclined, like the engineer type brain. So when it came to anything history and reading science stuff, unless it was something he liked, he didn't like. So we spent hours sometimes, working on those things. But with knowing the curriculum, it was easy for me because I already knew the South Carolina curriculum. And so by the time we did that, it was time for him to go to bed, you know, yada, 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 yada. So
that's here. So
yeah.
then what about in Colorado? How is that different?
Well, when we get to Colorado, of course, I start them in school, which would have been August. Okay. So I start them in school. It was a big help because Gannon is at this point a little bit more mature. He knows he'd stay with us. Because, see, I took him to Alaska and homeschooled him before we got to Colorado. So I homeschooled him for those 2 months. And then we transitioned into Colorado. Actually, it wasn't August. I'm sorry, I told you the story. It was that January that we got here. Because I homeschooled him November, December, not of this past time, but of the year before.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't remember.
So January 2019.
Yes, so I homeschooled him 2018, November, Christmas time, because Mom couldn't get him then for whatever reason. Then we came on to, but I think she ended up getting them, and she flew them back to Colorado for a week or something. She got it for a week maybe. Flew them back to Colorado. So January 2019, we would have started school in Colorado.
Okay.
All right, so get them in school, which Colorado, I mean, I think it was like May, middle May, they would go to school in Colorado to middle May.
Right.
So January, February, March, April, okay. So it was pretty simple in the terms of we would do like, you know, he never had homework in Colorado for some reason. So it was always Albert would be like, make them write their labs or, you know, make them go do all these things. And then, you know, it was time for them to go to summer.
So what time does he normally get home from school?
Well, around that time, he went to another school because this new school wasn't built.
Okay.
So it would have been like 3:45, 4 o'clock maybe, just because it happened to come from across town. And then coming, let's see.
Fall.
Yeah, so they came back in August. So we went on, Gannon went with us on a big cruise in the summer because he didn't want to go home to his mom. Right away, we gave him a choice. You want to go on a family cruise or you want to go, you know, to your mom's house. And he said he wanted to go on a cruise. So we all went on this big family cruise, Dominican, and I forgot a couple of places. So it was just me, him, Harley, and Albert. So it was just the 4 of us, and Lena didn't go. So we all went on this family cruise and had a great time or whatever. And then, of course, they come here for the summer, and then they get ready to come back for fall. So they come back for fall, and at this point in time, I was working. Albert was doing like one of the shifts, like 3-2.
You had your teaching job in the fall?
3-2, 3-2. He was like working and all these things.
Okay.
Well, Harley was working, I think, and starting Pikes Peak College. So we were all pretty busy, like throughout the day, and then in the evening it was kind of like, come in, grab this. But then I was coaching. So as I was,
what were you coaching?
Softball. So as I was
at your school.
At the high school.
At the high school.
So as I was coaching softball, you know, I probably didn't get home sometimes till like 5:30, maybe sometimes later, just depending on if it was a game, a practice, or something like that. So honestly, a lot of the help had to come from either Harley doing a lot of it, if Albert was working, or Gannon had to independently, like, you know, do a lot of it himself.
How did he get home?
Which we were teaching. At this point in time, they were in the new school.
Right.
So the new school, because we lived 1.5 miles out, the new school allowed him to take the bus. If not, they had the rest of the way they had to walk.
Okay.
So coaching was over, you know, probably around, it's weird because they do softball spring, not spring, they do it fall there instead of spring. So coaching was over maybe around like October, November. You know, Gannon started having a hard time because he was wanting to go home for Thanksgiving. When I tell you Gannon, he loves his Nana. Like that's his, if it was up to him, he'll just, I'll be at Nana's house all the time because he loves Nana. So he like wanted to go because he has 2 little boy cousins. If you know, Gannon has 4 sisters and he doesn't have any brothers. So he, in his way, those 2 little boys are like his little brothers.
Okay.
So if he goes to Nana's house, you know, he can spend a lot of time with his little cousins. I think his name's Bladen and Waylon or something like that. And then they can all just hang out and do those things. But he didn't get to go for Thanksgiving. Albert had to work. So we I don't really cook. We've always like eaten out whenever it's my turn. So I just said, hey, listen, you know, we'll go out to dinner. We did all this Thanksgiving. Tried to make it up the best that I could because I'm not his mom, but he wanted to be there with the family, you know, because it's the holidays and that's what it's always, you know, used to. And then of course Christmas came around, and then the same thing kind of happened at Christmas, but then we worked it out and we figured out a plan to get him home for Christmas so that they would be able to, you know,
So he went to Nana's for Christmas?
Spend time with the family, yeah. Because Mom never had a house. So Albert said it's okay if they go and then they just have to get Nana's house. And that was our biggest worry. Like, have you ever been here before today?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like if you like look on the boulevard and things like that, there's a lot of like hotels, like not the best places, and that was where they were staying at one point. You know, when they would come, and so that was why they were like, no, it has to be
a house. Yeah. So then, is Gannon responsible for taking his own? He has ADHD medicine, right? Does he do that on his own? Do you help him with that?
Most of the time, like how it worked is I got all lunchboxes ready. Set them on. We've been in the house with the stove that's in the corner beside the refrigerator. We would set, the lunchboxes out, snacks, and let them pick. And he usually always picked before Lena because he just knew that he could get it. If he beat her up, he could pick the snacks he wanted. Mm-hmm. So he would pick the snacks that he wanted. And I would lay if Albert wasn't getting them up, I would lay his ADHD medicine, which is Vyvanse, 20 milligrams. I would lay his Vyvanse on the counter. And so
what form is it? Just tablet? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would lay it on the counter, and he would know, come in and take it.
How does he take it? Is it with water?
Like yeah. He doesn't even use water half the time.
Okay.
He just he's been taking it since he was 5.
Okay.
So.
Is there any other that he's on, or no? Like Adderall or anything else?
No, I don't know. I think when he was like 5, they like tried one medicine, but once the Vyvanse worked, that was it. Like that was the one.
Any of the other kids on medication?
Mm-mm.
Hardly. Or, no. Okay.
No one else was on any kind of.
What about you or Al?
I don't know anything other than what I told you about. The lorazepam. But see, the thing about lorazepam was they might give it to me and I might not get it again for 6 months. And like it might be 30 tablets, but it was only for like panic attacks or things like that. As far as Albert, I know he has the gout, so I know I don't even know what it's called.
Right.
I'm sure it's nothing that.
But nothing that he could could mix up medications with or whatever in the morning. Take somebody else's meds or anything.
Not that I'm worried. Now there's stuff in the counter from like probably old stuff or like Harley had her wisdom teeth taken out. I think Albert did, but I'm pretty sure he might have been smart enough to get rid of that stuff. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But none of us had like any what you want to call hardcore drugs or anything like that.
That's why I'm asking you that, because of the bath salts deal that he came up with. That was on the hike day, wasn't it?
So the bath salt thing was just totally because they did this drug class at school, which is the same class that my 5th grade did too. And it's where these people came in and they dressed up in like, I say dressed, they were professionals. They are medical professionals. They dressed in their outfits and all these things, and they let the kids pretend they were working on what do they call those things? Like as if they were doing CPR and all that. And during that time frame, they went over all these different drugs. So they talked about what your life is on crack. They talked about doing cocaine, like all these. Like it was very, very like in depth for 5th grade. But at the same time, you got to think it was probably a good thing to kind of talk to kids.
So was
about.
Gannon telling you about this, or did you find out from a teacher, or how did you find out they had this in-depth conversation?
Well, I knew because they did it at our school first. So they did it at our school first. So it was something, once they found out they did it at our school and they saw like all the cool pictures and things like that, other teachers wanted to know about it. So when the other teachers wanted to know about it, they, went around different schools and then they signed I think Albert signed a permission slip, or maybe sent an email to the teacher or whatever, that it was okay for him to do.
So was Gannon fascinated with the bath salt thing, or how did that conversation happen? Because I know that seemed to be important, during the hike and afterwards and whatever.
Well, he was like, okay, so Mike apparently would deliver these packages, and we never knew what they were. We were told meat, we were told whatever. We don't know. But Albert would always talk to Gannon about anytime people had anything to do with drugs and things of that sort. He would always say these are bad people. If you see anything like this is bad things. So
right.
Gannon already had some sort of base foundation about it, and because he had that sort of base foundation about it, he always had questions because he made himself so small.
Right.
That was always his main concern, is that he was wanting to know because is baby Nova going to be okay? Nova's right. Is baby Nova going to be okay? And that was like his main concern in that aspect, was wanting to know these things because he was just curious of how like all these things work.
So were you guys on the hike when he brought it up, or where were you?
He had already brought it up prior to the hike.
Okay.
He had already said something when he came home after this.
Was it a concern for you? Tell me what he said and how your conversation went.
Honestly, sir, I don't remember. I just remember he was telling us about the different things that they were talking about. And then I was like, oh, did you guys do this? And they would be like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, did y'all do this? So it was kind of like mimicked the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So we did talk about that a lot.
Was that before hike, you said?
Yeah, leading up to it, before the hike, there was a lot of talk about it, for a little bit. And then, of course, at the hike, I think he said a few things.
What did he say?
I just remember he was talking to me.
And was it concerning to you?
Like
what he was saying? Like he really wanted to try these things, or what?
Like, I didn't think anything about him wanting to try any of it or to do anything with it. I know that he said something about it, and I gave him a bath bomb.
When he said something, what did he say?
He just asked me in general, about if we had bath salts. Because, to be honest with you, he had already pooped how many times in his pants.
So he said that after he pooped on the hike?
He pooped a couple of times on the hike, yeah. Like, when I say poop, I don't mean like, I don't want to be like graphic, but just a little bit to where it's uncomfortable and whatever. Right. And so the whole thing about bath salts was just, I think he just wanted to like relax because he ended up taking 2 baths. So, I mean,
now, I don't want to be weird, but are you giving him baths? Is he taking it by himself?
No. Gannon goes by himself, and he just, he's very, like, helpful, independent. Like, I've taught him so many independent skills where he can go in there and just, now he'll forget to, like, bring his clothes up or, the simple things like that. But
okay. So he takes 2 baths that night, or 1 bath that night, 1 the next morning? Or?
No. So I think when we got home, he took 1. Me and Lena went to go get food. And then I think he had used the bathroom again. So he took another one. I think when me and Lena got back, he was either taking a bath. I don't really remember. And then she took 1 somehow.
Because they share a bathroom in the basement?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
So...
No one. The basement was used by Harley.
Okay. So where's his bedroom?
Bedroom. Okay, so the bedroom's downstairs, but the bathroom, remember, is like where Harley's room is at.
That's right. So where did he take the bath? Upstairs?
So the bath's upstairs.
Got it.
Usually would have been.
And what happens with the clothes that he kind of pooped in?
What do you mean?
Does he throw them in the washer? Do you have to take care of it, or?
I don't wash anyone's clothes, but.
Do you not? Does he take care of his own? Then?
Well, we get on him about if you want to earn technology time, you have to go do your own clothes. You have to like have chores around the house, and you have to do all these things. So that's kind of like how it works too.
Okay.
Everybody had their own. I don't even do Albert's clothes.
Right.
So, like I don't even, So
that's good. 11-year-old taking care of himself.
Well, not necessarily taking care of.
Well, and just in that aspect.
Right. He was so like a boy in the terms of clean clothes. Like he could wear the same. Again, he'll wear the same shirt like 2 days, and you have to like go change it.
So what does an argument look like with Gannon? Have you guys ever argued?
Like maybe like in Myrtle Beach, we would have been like we're so much alike. So we are so much alike in terms of we both have stomach problems, really, really bad. We both have like anxiety, so like so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
And he's so kind and like kind-hearted and then the point of like we can get upset about something, but then the next minute he'll be like I am. He'll be like, oh, talk about something, or we'll just say something, and he had tremendously increased the amount in Myrtle Beach. I don't think I ever heard him be like, I love you, or like, I mean, like the holiday might come, they just say, oh, just write something, whatever. But like since having him all the time, it became more of like I would hear "I love you" like almost all the time, you know. And so I feel like it was
the holiday, the Christmas before. Is that what you're saying? He disappeared.
See what now?
When you said around the holiday, he was saying "I love you."
I'm saying like once we started more and more having, then he and I became a lot closer because of just like wanting to have that connection with both the kids.
Surely you had some arguments with him, though. Did you ever have to discipline him, or no?
Well, I have never spanked any of the children, never, because I just don't believe in spanking other people's kids. So never had that. Now, as far as like, okay, you are in trouble, you're going to do this. Yeah, that's with any kid, with any of them.
What's the biggest disagreement you had with Gannon?
Let's see, the biggest disagreement. I think probably because he doesn't, and again, he probably shouldn't have this on him as a kid, but not like seeing the light of how he couldn't go home. He was so like, you know, kind of like forgiving. It's okay, Mommy don't have money to do this, you know. And if I said anything like, well, and I probably shouldn't have, but I did, I would be like, well, she quit doing this, she could pay for it. And I would always figure out a way. But then it was like, you know, I'd say, I wanted him to see that.
So was this a certain incident?
Do I know?
The biggest disagreement you had, was this a certain time, or you?
No, we never had like big, like there was never any like big all out. Like, when you say disagreement, like clashes or like screaming, shouting?
Well, I'm a parent, so I've had mine.
You mean
disagreements,
like
yelling at the kids.
Yeah, like that kind of disagreement, but never not like a.
So what's the most
physical,
upset you've been with Gannon?
Where we've like.
Where you've had to yell, and I've had to yell at my kids.
I got you. I see what you're saying. So like where we've had to like fuss at each other over whether or not he did something. If he did something.
That has to happen if you're a parent.
Right. I didn't know what you were saying. I thought you were asking me like.
No, I'm more looking at this from Gannon's point of view. I'm not judging you.
No, I thought you were asking me more of like, you know, like. Like whippings or like switches or like something like that. No.
So what's the most intense time you've had with Gannon, as far as you're yelling, he's yelling, that sort of thing? That has to have happened, especially with stepkids.
I mean, yeah, of course.
So what time do you remember?
Probably times that I don't remember specific times. Like say all revolved around Albert, like not being disciplined.
Well,
disciplinary enough.
Yeah, when Gannon was just doing something that's totally irrational and unreasonable. I have a boy, I know.
Yeah.
They don't behave all the time.
Right.
So what did Gannon...
I don't know of any, like, specifics. I just know that we would have. You know, like, if it would have been something that wasn't in what our teachings were, we would have, of course, like, yelled at each other.
So you never had to yell at him that you remember?
I just said that to you. I said there have been plenty of times.
Yeah, but I mean a specific one.
I don't know. I don't know a specific one. I mean, probably from playing.
So I can tell you for me, is when my son rolled a basketball underneath me, I was going to go in for a layup, and I almost twisted my ankle and broke my back at the same time.
Oh, goodness.
And I yelled at him.
Yeah.
Am I sad I did it now? Yes. But I couldn't help myself. That was a stupid thing to do. He was just seeing, what if I roll the ball under Dad? Not that I even jumped that high.
Right.
But yeah, I couldn't help it. I turned around and yelled at him. I didn't hurt him or anything.
Yeah.
But that, with you being home with just Gannon, and sometimes Elena, and sometimes Harley, and Al being on the road, every once in a while, something had to go wrong.
I mean, when you say go wrong, like, yeah, I just...
And you have to say, and you have to set things right, like what my son did with me with the basketball.
Oh, yeah. And
I'm curious as far as how Gannon would react if you have to really get on to him for something that he did that was stupid. He's a boy.
Yeah. Gannon wouldn't, like, yell back. Gannon would not, like, yell back and be, like, confrontational. So Gannon would not, like, he might say something smart.
Well, how did he react?
Under his breath.
Do you have an incident you remember, or no?
No.
When you had to put your foot down and say, Gannon, that's not acceptable.
No, like if I said that, he pretty much listened to what I said.
Yeah.
It was like not. I don't remember him screaming back at me at any.
So we're just going to his room, slamming the door.
Situation.
Anything like that?
Slamming the door, room, TV. I mean, I don't.
So
More so me like saying something. Albert might have been more of the if there was slamming doors or anything. It could have been me like going back saying, Albert, you need to make sure he's not doing this, and then go from there in that situation.
Okay.
Like Albert was teaching him how to use a box cutter and like different things like that. And there were times that I might have been like, oh, Albert, I don't think you should have done this because he was acting weird in this way. But that would have been early in the beginning before we started getting him like counseling. Mm-hmm. So once he started getting, like.
Now remind me, the counseling, what was that for?
Do what now?
The counseling?
So Albert said that he should get counseling through the military, just for like all the transitions and being like in and out of schools and like all different things like that, just to make sure that his mental like well-being was fine. And Albert said that anytime he would, of course, counselors can't tell you, like what was going on unless it was something, pressing. And of course, Albert would always come out and say everything's fine, and then Gannon would come back and tell us what he talked about. But as far as like.
Did Gannon ever come at you with a knife or something? Wasn't there an incident?
Well, that's what I was just telling you about. There was when I told you Albert was trying to teach him how to use
That's the box cutter.
A box cutter, yeah. So Gannon had this thing about the knife, and he was doing like this, and whoever told you that it was coming at me, that is not.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah,
I'm getting the real story here.
No. You've got stories from everywhere, and you probably are not looking at me for mine, but that is not what happened. Gannon was in a upset, which the video was shown to the counselor lady. Okay. And Albert was so upset because he was like, you should have let me get the video or something like that. But Gannon was in more of like an upset rage because this was in the very beginning when he had to first transition to yet another school.
Was this fall?
No, so this would have been, I don't know if it would have been fall, but okay, so 4th grade, new school, homeschool, then they went to the first school in Colorado, and then the new school opened.
Correct.
So it was somewhere between that time frame of, Gannon it was too much transitions for him. That had nothing to do with him being mad at me or being mad at Albert or Landon or whatever. It was too much transitions for him that he was so upset. So
where was he when he was doing this? Was he in his room?
I feel like it was in the kitchen. I don't really remember, sir. You're asking me something that was a while ago. I don't remember. Yeah. I mean,
were you threatened by Gannon doing that? Did it make you nervous?
Well, I told Albert. I said it has a mentality. Like in my mind, I said it has a mentality of like he's going to want to. I said not hurt himself, or not specifically hurt someone in general, but specific, but in general. And so, like, I was a little worried because I thought, like, he has so much anger and aggression for what was going on. Because it honestly was, Albert hadn't even got there yet, I feel like. I feel like Albert had just either got to Colorado or hadn't got there yet.
Right.
And so, he had to go from being with his mom back to me, and then Albert wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And then it was, okay, like, I got to start new school. I got to make new friends, like all those things.
How did you handle it? How did you calm him down?
He just typically always.
I'm specifically with the box cutter thing. How did you calm him down?
I don't know if it was a knife he had then. I was just saying, like, he had been using a box cutter, so that's how I was teaching him in the pride. So I remember I took his amiibo. He loves amiibos. And I took his amiibo, and I just threw his amiibo out in the front yard. And I told him, I was like, the amiibo's gone, we're never getting it again. And I made him call his mom. Mm-hmm. And so I don't remember what we exactly said, but I know she was basically saying, like, you better listen. She gets upset and sends me a message. I send her a message back, and we were both, like, mad at each other, as in me and Landon. And then it was kind of more of like, okay, it's calm down. But this was a year ago, mm-hmm. So that was the gist of that. It was, he needed that outlet.
Okay.
He needed that counseling.
Well, that helps us. That's what I'm talking about with the victimology thing.
He needed that. He needed that
about him.
He needed that outlet to be able to say, okay, when I have anger and I have upset, because he typically, like I said, Gannon doesn't get angry and just, lash out or say anything like that. He doesn't. Like, or if he says something smart back to Albert, it's usually he's very literal. He'll say something and then be like, oh my gosh, yes, I should have done that.
Right.
So that's in your assessment of him. I could probably count on one hand the times that Gannon would have been
aggressive like that.
Right, and not even to the point of aggressive of like he actually acted upon it, other than showing signs. And I think once we got the counseling in place, he was able to have his friends now. He knew he was in a place that.
I don't think they're watching through this. This is a brand new thing.
Like,
they even said it's like backwards because the camera's there, but the window's there, so the seat should be there anyway.
But no, I just didn't know because I thought I heard a fire alarm. So he never like really just had a hard time until the counseling. And once the counseling was in play, I seen leaps in the way that not only he acted, but our relationship with each other, relationship with dealing with, okay, go do this. Sir, it's so hard because,
John,
I'm sorry.
I'm old, but don't call me.
John, it's so hard because if I get up in the morning and I have, Gannon would even say, you want me to take the dogs out so you can have 10 more minutes of sleep? And I convinced him into changing my name. So I had him on board of like calling me a different name, and so, because I didn't ever like my original name, so I had him on board of calling me a different name. So the helpfulness through not only just the counseling and then having that stability became so great for him.
Good.
And that's the piece that I really wish, like, I know you sit here and say you've heard people say stuff or talk or whatever. I know you've spent your career going through people who you've had to help and people who you've known are full of shit or whatever. But Gannon benefited so much from going in there that he was able to talk to us, and that's when I started hearing more of like, okay, I love you. And he would say hardly, like, he would say it, but like not that like situation of like, oh, I love you, and like the affection and things like that. And that began to, I thought we were on a path for him really to see that I could be more of, I don't just want to take anybody's place as a mom, but be more of like a mom figure to it. And that was where I felt like we were definitely headed.
Well, that's helping with him
in that situation.
So that kind of answers the bath salts thing. He really wasn't he wasn't outright asking you, I want to get high off of bath salts.
No. I think that it was more of a situation with, they were going to school in a school that had older kids. And I think it was just more of they heard this is speculation. I'm just telling you what my observation is based upon how I heard them talk and, people talk. They were just wanting, I say, like, to fit in, per se. And it was just a situation where Gannon would do whatever in order to just be able to play his game and just do it. You said you have a boy, a little boy.
Yeah.
And that was in the gist of it. Like, I could tell Gannon, look, do you want to play your Switch? Okay, will you help me go do this? Will you take charge? Will you do this? Will you do this? And so he was in such a yes sir, yes ma'am mode of given technology, I could do it. And I think that was hard going to school with kids that were a little older and coming home on the bus. They had the same, you have some boys who get to do a little more than others. And this is based upon my assumption, just from talking to him, like when we were talking about it on the hike, is that there was just more, like, not pressure, maybe kind of sort of peer pressure, but there was just more of like wanting to know what could I do to get this person to like me, because he only liked certain friends, and those were his people. He would obsess on them, like, had a friend named Connor, that's the person he obsessed on, and he went to Braden, that's the person he obsessed on. So if someone liked the interest that he likes, he will like develop that obsession on them and just want to, not a bad obsession, I don't mean like a
Right.
And he,
No, I
like,
get it.
he wants that's the person he wants to hang out with. He didn't have, 27 friends. He had just that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was what, and I feel like with that, that's where we were at in that situation of just trying to, this thing is bad, but I understand you have a friend who wants to do this, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And that was
Good. That helps.
And that was,
So that helps with the bath salts, and I'm trying to see how Gannon reacted to these little things that happened.
This concludes part 1 of the FBI interview with Letecia Stauch. In the next video, we'll continue exactly where the interview left off as investigators press for answers and Letecia continues to explain her version of events. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in part 2.